Hello and welcome to One. This is the program in which everything is considered. Today I'm talking youth politics with the Secretary of Information and Mobilization and Publicity for the SWAPO Party Youth League, Job Shipululo Amupanda. Hello and welcome.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you with us.
Yeah, it shows that young people can also make it on one-on-one. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, we are more than willing to accommodate young people on this platform and many other platforms. Let me start off by maybe reflecting on your political career entrance into youth politics. We knew you as a scholar, we knew you as a student of politics, but the leap into active politics, that came as a surprise to many people.
No, not necessarily. I've been in public discourse for about 7 years now. I've been very clear about my personal philosophy, which is black consciousness. I think I'm brought in this world to make a contribution to the black condition. I think I've been very clear as a columnist, but I remained a member of the SWAPO Party Youth League, contribute to the internal dynamics of the SWAPO Party Youth League in terms of thinking. I went to school, of course. I studied the same way people studied agriculture. I studied political science. There is no qualm about that. I continue to contribute where I can, but you need to be able to understand the sharp distinctions between, we say, for example, less than, maybe it's only about 10% of black people in this country have tertiary qualification, education at the highest level. So what you cater for as a scholar is a little audience, but the black condition continues to deteriorate. You need to understand that we are coming to stewardship when unemployment is standing at 51.2. We are coming to stewardship when 75% of young people are unemployed, although being half of the population. So there was now a fundamental need that some of us rise to the pedestal, come to stewardship, and bring about the real politics of emancipation to radicalize the youth league as a first point of departure, and then you can now go to transform the SWAPO party.
At the age of 24, I think that's what many people watching your rise, and they are saying you're just 24. I mean, many people took much longer to get to where you are, age-wise. Do you think that is perhaps the critical issue?
Yeah, of course. What you need to understand is that there has been a serious monopoly of youth politics, where whenever youth discussions are said, one person or two or three people are said. Let's be clear that there are people that came to stewardship through appointment. Somebody at the 2007 SWAPO Party Youth Congress, which I attended as an observer, somebody was an invited guest. All of a sudden is in the National Executive Committee, but then the other person turns around to speak. But I led the section at the University of Namibia, that's serving in the branch executive committee. I went back home when I finished my master's degree. I was in my village for 8 months, unemployed by choice. In the Ndafenongo branch, in the Ondangwa district, I served in the leadership of the SWAPO Party Youth League in Oshana region, and I attended Congress, so young people felt that I must serve them in different capacity. So you need to understand that those of us that understand, that went to school and know exactly what we're doing, we would not obviously go everywhere to parade every activity that we do. So there was a serious thinking in terms of where you wanted to be in terms of your political career. Let me link that to a different set of a question, because when you got here at the age of 24, many people also felt that perhaps you were too immature for this sort of radical approach that you would want to present. And people also, frankly speaking, they are really not happy with talk of a youth movement being very radical. They look at Julius Malema in South Africa and they are very apprehensive towards such a radicalization. I think we need to be able to understand the view of the anti-radicalism view is championed by liberals. And there's no history of achievement by liberals. Look, people had to be killed for us to have political freedom. There is no record. You see, for you to have a revolution, by very nature, there must be societal contradictions. So somebody need to rise and say, this is what is happening. Look, I was, as I informed you from the very beginning, I was never appointed to position of stewardship. Young people from the section, from the branch, from the district, from the region, from the national decided that I must lead. So I don't think we are going to give any prominence to pedestrian views. Look, the Youth League and the Swapo Party have a constitution that is very clear. So we cannot be responding to people who think a person is young or what at the end of the day. Look, the black condition is very serious in this country. There are people with only one underwear. We know exactly what we are talking about. You meet a person, the last time that they ate an apple was maybe 8 months ago. There's a person for the past 6 years have never touched $100 Namibian in their hands. So that's how serious the situation is. When somebody is elected to stewardship by young people, overwhelmingly, and you think the young people from all 107 districts of the Swapo Party Youth League, the 13 regions of the Swapo Party Youth League, and you think they could have taken who? So that is a problem in this country where that is why stagnation is there, because you have very comfortable people who are used to to their situation. All of a sudden, when somebody else comes, oh, who is this person coming? Oh, the person is too young. Oh, the person is too radical. Oh, so what?
This one person who, a reader, who read some of your columns and said that you are not mature enough to do weekly columns. I mean, so this is one person who says that. And to that you say?
Well, I told you I've been in public discourse for about 7 years. I've written various columns and people have responded. The white community have not been very happy about it. In fact, they had a website which was called Namibia Open Forum. They followed all my discourses. Even when I went to the University of Stellenbosch, I led in the South African Students Congress, and I was the president of Stellenbosch Political Science Students Association. They went around looking for my pictures and reproducing it and presenting Job as this very monster that must never be allowed to steward. So what you need to understand, there are people who have a deliberate interest. They don't want young people to begin to rise up. They don't want young people to begin to be speaking about their issues. They want young people.
Let's talk about the policies that you're advocating for, because you talk about black radicalism that is heaped in black consciousness, that is heaped on black radicalism. What is the sort of departure? What is the sort of departure from current policies that you're advocating for?
At the personal level, I subscribe to the philosophy of Steve Biko of black consciousness and Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism as the overarching ideology, I now personally believe that it is black consciousness that will take us through there. When we emancipate black people to start believing that they can get out of university and go back to their villages and bring about real transformation instead of working for the white man. That's the type of thinking. When black people in this country, the sisters begin to understand that they are just as beautiful as they are. They don't need to, paint their lips red. They don't need to, put on Brazilian hair and get killed for these things. So when that is the thinking, to speak to the mind of a black person.
But when you're talking about black, it's a sort of an attitude of them and us. Black versus white.
Yes.
Many people are saying, but that is no longer the case, because under the Constitution...
No, that's false consciousness, Kadembe. We need to be able to understand. That is a false consciousness that we need to reject. Who are sleeping under the bridges? Who are the security guards? Who are the domestic workers? Who are the taxi drivers? Who owns the economy? 95% of our economy is owned by less than 5% of the population, which is white. This is the reality. The mathematics are as follows. If you do mathematics, there's what is called find X. It took us 22 years to get 5% of the population. Now, the rest of 95% of the economy, if I ask you to find X, do you know how long it's going to take? It's going to take you 418 years.
But you cannot actively discriminate against one sector of the population simply because of that.
Black consciousness doesn't discriminate against white people. Black consciousness teaches black people to believe in themselves. A young person at the University of Namibia need to graduate and begin to believe that they can start their own company without working for somebody. A young person in Katutura need to start believing that when I get a job and get an income, I don't need to live in Ludwigsdorp. I can develop my mother's house, build it in a double story if need be, so that Katutura can begin to...
How different is this from reverse apartheid?
Reverse apartheid is what? I think I've been charged by white people for a long time, apparently, about racism. We have gone to school, we understood this thing, and we know exactly what has happened to keep us thinking.
But white people also went to similar schools.
No,
they studied School of Thought, they studied political science.
Allow me to exercise my democratic right and freedom of expression. Now, what you need to understand, the definition of racism, we need to get it clear. The definition of racism is prejudice plus power, right? You need to have power to exercise that particular prejudice. For 500 years, Kadembire, black people were exploited by white people, right? Worldwide. We know that historical fact.
Go on.
Yeah. So I am not a person. I'm trying to tell you that true humanity can be achieved when we address the black condition. I'm not prepared, Kadembire, to wait for 418 years for us to get the rest of the economy. That's why I believe in state-directed development. I put in my application for my PhD with the University of Western Cape, where I'm looking at the state-directed development.
Socialism.
No, state-directed development.
Explain to the viewers.
So what basically state-directed development, the private sector in this country is very small. It can't drive the economy, right? So you need a state that directs development, directs priority areas, actively get involved. It cannot be correct that we have 3% or 6% in a mine and the people that are sitting in London own the rest of our resources. No, it cannot be correct. I am not going to be party to such
state-directed development, is this, we want to get an understanding. Is this another word or interchangeably used with nationalization? Or what are we trying to get to?
I think,
because our constitution does allow for a mixed economy. It does allow for state to intervene in certain economic areas. And our constitution has not stopped that.
In any relationship, power dynamics are always determined. So this false consciousness about something being neutral, mixed economy, or whatever, you see, when you come in a situation, you come in a room, an elephant is standing on the tail of a mouse, then you stand there that you are neutral. Power dynamics, what is mixed about the economy? Our economy is capitalist, you must admit that, Kadembire. So you need to be able to understand that.
But there are also other state mechanisms, such as bodies that were established, a Pangelo for one. So there is a measure of a mixed economy.
No, but my personal, you are asking me about job, isn't it? I'm explaining to you that what is very important for us to move forward is state-directed development. State-directed development have worked in Botswana, it's working in Mauritius, it's have worked in Venezuela and many other countries. By the way, you need to be able to understand that all these countries that have developed, whether in Asia, you think Manchester and London, these cities were built through democracy. They were built through the profit that were coming from plantations. Now we are finding ourselves in a situation where you see it was easy for Europe to develop because you have slaves that are working for you for free. You have this situation that are provided for. State-directed development is not a new thing. It's something that even in the apartheid have used that concept of state-directed development. Between 1920 and 1940, about 40 million hectares of Namibian land were given to poor and uneducated Afrikaners. There's always this false consciousness to say, apparently, no, we can't farm. The poor and uneducated farmers, Afrikaners never knew anything to do with farming, but the state capacitated them. The state gave them slaves to work for them that are paid peanuts, if any. Right. The state provided for, loans for them to participate in this thing. That is why we want a situation to change. Majority of young people in this country are graduating. They keep renting to properties that are owned by white people. They'll never own land.
Let's just continue with that thought. We continue with this insightful interview with Job right after this. Welcome back. We continue with this insightful interview with youth activist, youth politician, Job Amupanda. Job, you were just explaining to me the youth condition. You were explaining to me some of your thinking that probably will continue to influence some of your decisions, even in this particular position that you hold. Let me now talk to you about your formal position as Secretary of Information, because you've unruffled a lot of feathers since you were elected at the recent Congress, because of most of your pronouncements that you make in your press releases that have always made a lot of news. Was that always the effect that you wanted to have?
First, Kadembire, let me, you are now asking about me as a Secretary for Information. I think what is very important for us to understand, we went to the 5th Congress where young people came from 107 districts of the Swapo Party Youth League and 13 region of the Swapo Party Youth League. These young people literally said that we have 3 key pillars to champion the more than 152 resolutions that were adopted at the 5th Congress held from the 29th of August to the 2nd of September. Young people said that the 3 pillars are youth empowerment, because 60% of this population is young, and 75% of them are unemployed. So the first pillar is youth empowerment. The second pillar is genuine economic empowerment. But what we have seen is that we want real transformation, but obviously what then happens, they take Kadhimbire, they take Abetas Okhumebe and many others as an example to, take part in this economic transaction, but it's not real transformation. It's not trickling down to the communities. It's not going to Marala and many other places. So genuine economic emancipation must be genuine, and obviously in rural development. More than half of the Namibian population lives in rural area, so that's the third pillar, to champion economic freedom that we're talking about. So that is, we needed to, let's get that right. So whatever then happens in the activities and the operation of the Youth League are in that context. Congress is a higher decision-making body. It provided us with more than 152 resolutions, and there is a body which was elected called the Central Committee of the SWAPO Party Youth League. That body is constitutionally charged with the responsibility of implementing the decisions of Congress. Now,
but you also took some decisions that were not necessarily taken at Congress. Your vice presidential pick for was also not taken at Congress. These are some of the decisions that were taken by the structures in the interim.
Had you allowed me to continue, I would have gone to the National Executive Committee, which is charged with the responsibility of implementing the decision of a Central Committee. This is what happened. Now, at Congress, there was a presentation done, right? The intervention done. In fact, all these activities were generally discussed. Now, when we arrived at the Central Committee meeting to implement now, to champion the way forward, we were not just basically bringing new matters. We were reflecting on the 152 resolutions that are there. The issue of the vice president and all the nomination, it was discussed under delegates, SWAPO Party Youth League delegates to the SWAPO Party Congress. There was an agenda point like that. There was another agenda item which says that SWAPO Party Youth League candidates for Central Committee. Now, of the mother body